there! Today I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, would you consider yourself a perfectionist? Number 2, would you say that your perfectionism is holding you back in your art and in your creative journey? Right, well, I can definitely say yes to both of those questions wholeheartedly. And unfortunately, in my artist journey, that has really held me back many, many times. But now I would say I'm kind of a perfectionist in recovery. So I have worked out a few tips and tricks over the years that really helped me to get out of my perfectionist mindset and more into the doing mode, as I call it. This is why today I'm making this video, because I would love to share my favorite 10 tips and tricks on how to combat perfectionism in art with you today. And if you're wondering who I actually am, let me introduce you. I'm Desi, I'm an artist, and I make videos for everyone who loves creating, drawing, painting, but feels sometimes held back by limiting beliefs, frustrations, creative self-doubt, all that kind of stuff. Right, so let's go. Tip number 1 today is to create yourself an obstacle. What I mean by that is that you make it kind of difficult for yourself. So for example, if you like drawing, try to tie your pencil to a wooden stick or something so it's really long. Or if you're painting, use a super wide brush or even something that isn't a tool for drawing, like a sponge or anything like that. You could also draw with your non-dominant hand. That's a very popular one. And why you're doing this is because by creating this kind of obstacle, it's a given that you're not going to draw a perfect line, right? Because you can't, because your tool is making that difficult. So I find that it really relaxes you, it takes you out of your head because you have to stop worrying about perfection because it isn't attainable in this case. My cat's being very noisy. This is a really popular exercise as well in drawing classes, and for a reason, because it really makes you, it's almost funny, because you're trying to draw something with like a huge tool. It's not really possible. So you really chill out and you get out of this like overthinking loop. Obviously, you don't always have to draw like this. Just do it as a warm-up exercise, for example, to get out of your head straight away before you start your other drawings. Okay, then tip number 2. This is a weird one, but hear me out. So make something you're really happy with, some kind of drawing, painting, whatever it is, something that you find is pretty. And then take it and throw it in the bin. I know it sounds nuts, but it's so good to do sometimes. Don't do it all the time, obviously, like in tip number 1. You don't want to throw away all your beautiful art. But do it once in a while because it's such a good lesson. It's basically very difficult because you're happy with what you make. You don't want to throw it away. So it takes a bit of courage, actually. But it's lovely because it reminds you about something very important, which is that drawing shouldn't be about the end result. It should be about having fun, relaxing, enjoying making art. That's what's important. So forget about the end result. This is so good for perfectionists because you don't want to do that. But it's great. It frees you up. Trust me, try it and you will see that it's very, it's like a shock to the system. And you will remember that art is not about the end result. Okay, then tip number 3 is to set a timer. Very easy. For example, if you're drawing something, do 2 minutes each, 5 drawings, or even 5 minutes each, 10 minutes each, whatever it is. Just have some kind of time frame. There's something about the clock literally ticking that gets you out of this perfectionist mind spiral because there is a clock and there's a certain amount of pressure then to create something to make it happen. And so you kind of have to get to the paper, you have to get to it because you only have X minutes to do it. It's super useful, give it a go. It's very good for somebody who's very much in their head all the time because you really have this time pressure to take action. By the way, this is another exercise they really often do in live drawing classes, for example, and for a good reason, because it's super effective for everyone who has a tendency to think a little bit too much. Okay, tip number 4 is to make art together with a child. Obviously, you might not have your own children, but then just see if there's anyone in your circle of friends, in your family, where there's a younger child, ideally under primary school age. They have to be young enough not to be tainted by these kind of like grown-up ways of thinking of it has to be great. Very young children, they don't think like that. They just have fun. They're super free in their approach to making. So you want to get together with one of those very young kids and do a little art and craft session. Sit down together, maybe they do a drawing, whatever, and observe how they approach making art. You will see they are relaxed. They're having a good time. They're not thinking, oh, this has to be perfect. And they're not getting frustrated in the same way that adults do. And it's so nice. Really, if you can, this is actually my favorite tip of all of them. It will remind you, I think, how you maybe used to be when you were very young, how it could be, right? To create without all this worrying, mind spiraling, result focused. Super nice. Really, really a good, helpful tip to try. Okay, tip number 5 is to create with a sort of randomness element. What you want to do is, for example, to pour some ink on a paper, let it dry, and then draw some random characters out of that. Or, also very nice, go for a walk, gather some random elements, whatever you can find, and then draw a little still life from that. So you get the idea. Just do something that is not predictable. And this works because it creates, an element of randomness. And perfectionist brains don't like this, right? I know that. You want you want to know what's happening. You want to know what you're drawing, how it's going to be. But this is random. So you don't know exactly how the result is going to be because you don't even know really what you're going to be drawing until you get to it. This is such a great exercise for perfectionists because it brings this element of unpredictability, and that's a kind of nice change, right? To always being so precious about everything. And I think you will find that it makes you feel a bit more relaxed, and it can actually lead to really fun results if you're trying to come up with like little cartoon characters that you're drawing. It's just nice to improvise a little bit and play around. Tip number 6 is to, I call this share something ugly. So this is a bit like exposure therapy, which I'm sure you heard of. What you want to do is to find something you've drawn or made that you really don't like. You just don't like it. You don't want to show it to anyone. You think it's really unsuccessful, basically. And then you take that and you could show it to a friend, family. Even better though, if you can, is to share it in social media because this is a bigger platform. There are more people on there and it feels harder. Why you want to do this? I mean, you think, are you out of your mind? No, I think you should do this because it again takes the pressure off this perfectionist result. You're sharing it. You can even say, I don't like it. That's fine. But just see how it feels. It's okay, right? It's okay not to have everything perfect. It's okay to share something that isn't amazing. Because art is not about the perfect result, as I was saying earlier. It's about the process. It's about learning, making mistakes. It's all good. So if you share this today, do it today, you will feel, at first it's awkward, it feels uncomfortable, but once it's out there and nothing bad happens, I think you might find that it's quite relaxing and kind of like freeing. By the way, a side effect of this is that often people then come back to you and say, oh, I really like this. I love this drawing. They see it with different eyes. So it also kind of helps you to, judge your own work too harshly. So that's a really nice side effect of this tip. Okay, tip number 7 is to look at other people's early attempts. Maybe there's an artist you like on social media, for example, or some famous artist like, Monet. So try to research them. If it's on social media, you can literally scroll back the whole way. If they left it on there, obviously, you can see their very first beginning drawings, or even throughout their journey, you can see how they improved over the years. If it's a famous artist, sometimes it takes a bit more work to find it, but there will always be in some kind of museum catalog or whatever online. You will find early sketches, very, very early paintings. And it's such a great exercise because I think what we often do is we compare our early attempts, especially as beginners, with the masterpieces of famous artists who've studied and drawn and painted for decades. And you mustn't do that. You have to look at the beginnings because they also all started somewhere. We're not born perfect artists. Nobody is. Everyone practices and gets there through hard work. So this can be almost like a healing exercise sometimes, to look at artists' early work and see that they also just started at zero, and it will make you feel better, I think, about your non-perfect attempts. Okay, tip 8 for you perfectionists out there is to enroll in a class that is some kind of beginner's class. This doesn't have to be art, drawing, could be anything. You just want to be around beginners and then observe. I've done this many times. I love classes, so I've seen this effect a lot. Oh my God, people talk to themselves in a horrible way. Any kind of beginner's class, you will hear everything like, I suck, oh, I'm so bad at this, oh my God, I'm like the worst, I just don't get it, I'm not naturally this, not naturally that. Oh, it's really shocking actually. Once you have an ear, I guess, for it, you notice it so much, how people talk down on themselves. It's really sad. And I think when you see it in others, you will notice it more in yourself, how harsh you are perhaps to yourself. And I think it can be motivating or inspiring to talk to yourself in a slightly nicer way and to not think everything has to be perfect or I'm rubbish. No, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's enough that you're trying. And seeing other beginners struggle so much, it really gets you out of this, I think anyway, it gets you out of this intensity that everything has to be so perfect. Because you will see it in the other people as well. They are just trying their best, we are beginners for a reason, because you haven't done it before. So don't be harsh on yourself. Listen to the other people and try not to talk to yourself in that way. Okay, changing gears a bit for tip number 9. This is a really nice one, and it's to take part in some kind of creative challenge. For example, those things they have sometimes on social media, 30 days of drawing. Yeah, anything like that. Anything where you have a guided framework of what you have to do and for how long. And this is, again, a nice trick for your mind, because it makes you feel like there's a structure, right? And especially with this kind of challenge, there's a bit of outward, I don't want to say pressure, but there's a kind of commitment. Yeah, that you committed to something. And that will help you, I think, to get out of the overthinking again, because you have a task to do every day or whatever it is, every month, every week, and you know what you're doing. And I find that it kicks you into gear a bit more, because you're not stuck ruminating when are you going to start with whatever, because you know what you're going to have to do, so you're going to probably more likely to actually do it without overthinking. Right, and the very last tip is to, a very easy one, step away. Sometimes I make an artwork or a drawing and I hate it. I hate it so much. And then I think, oh, this is like the worst thing I've ever done, over dramatic. And then I step away, sometimes for quite a while. It could even be not just a day. Sometimes it's a week, 2 weeks. And then I look at it again. And then I think, geez, what I was so worried about. This is nice. It's nice enough. There's something about getting distance that makes you see it with fresh eyes, of course, with different eyes, without as much judgment. So try that. If really nothing else helps, step away, do something else. Even don't do anything creative if you want. Just take a break, come back, and then see how you feel about it. That's it. I hope you found those 10 tips helpful. I would love to know how you get on with it. If you want to leave a comment, if you want to have more of these kind of videos, I would love for you to subscribe. Just click the button. And by the way, if you want to take part in a nice drawing project, I have a 30 days of drawing workbook, which you can do at your own pace. And it's just lots of fun exercises. I will link it in the description below so you can get it there. Hope you have a lovely day. And until next time, bye.